Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. So in today's video I wanted to go back and talk about a subject that I personally find fascinating, because the reasons of why people either like advanced movement or boots on the ground is quite interesting, because one little thing can make the biggest difference. And what I mean by that is some people just prefer to stay boots on the ground, some people prefer the advanced movement, but at the same time not all people that prefer advanced movement like a certain kind of advanced movement. Like some people like Black Ops 3's advanced movement and dislike Infinite Warfare's, and vice versa. So I thought it would be very interesting to talk about, as well as getting you guys involved and asking you where you stand. And there are also the kind of people that basically don't really give a damn. They just want a good Call of Duty, regardless of whether or not it's a boots on the ground Call of Duty or whether it's not, or whether it's an advanced movement Call of Duty. So, and I think Black Ops 4, with the iteration of Black Ops 4 and with the flavor of chaos that that game specifically offers, if that's the word I want to use, is basically, actually no, the chaos that that game forces, there we go, that makes more sense. The kind of chaos that that game specifically forces with the whole specialists and how specialists work in that game really just proves that, well, a game could still be boots on the ground and be more chaotic than ever. Because there was once upon a time, and myself included, I basically thought the same thing at one point in time. I basically just thought that advanced movement was about as chaotic as you can get. And one thing that I was surprised, especially since I went back to play this game here, Advanced Warfare, one thing that I was surprised is that even though this game has exos, and some people obviously have a problem with the exos, I am very surprised of just how, and please don't shoot me for this, I'm actually surprised in terms of the chaos, just how balanced it could be. The only thing that I personally think pissed a lot of people off with the advanced movement was how, in the snap of a finger, you could go from boots on the ground, all of a sudden you're flying way up in the air before the other person even knows what the fuck happened. So I think that that's the biggest thing, and I think a lot of people also didn't like the verticality, because with this game you can go vertical really, really quick, and you can go up pretty high, and a lot of people had trouble with aiming or just don't prefer to aim high. I remember even hearing pros say that they just didn't really like the verticality. I personally think this is just my opinion, and you can always let me know what you think as well down in the comment section, which is one of the reasons why I made this video. And that is that I personally think that when there's verticality, for instance, it does take just a little bit more skill, in my opinion, to take somebody out, because they're in mid-air, they may be a little bit farther, so therefore the targeting may be a little bit more difficult, because they'll be a little bit smaller because of the distance, and with the height there's additional distance as well. And again, at the same time, that's one of the things that kind of pissed people off when it came down to the whole thing. So, but with Black Ops 3, it wasn't quite as strong as it was in this game. But at the same time, this game didn't have wall running, and Black Ops 3 did have wall running. I remember Crim6, he had a stream going on YouTube at the time. It was either during beta or right after the game came out, the full release. And I remember him mentioning that if the game didn't have wall running, I think it was that he mentioned, that it would be damn near perfect, if not perfect. The wall running to some people was a good thing, to the wall running to some people was just not really necessary. So, but in my opinion though, overall, in terms of advanced movement, I would probably say, even though it can be chaotic sometimes depending on how it's used, it's not as chaotic as it is in this game. At least that's what a lot of people think, and a lot of people, excuse me, that's what a lot of people feel, at least from the feedback that I've gotten. But for those of you guys that have Advanced Warfare still, if you haven't gotten rid of it, if you're not one of those people that dislike the game or whatnot, or whatever the deal may be, if you were to go back and play this game right now after spending a so amount of time with Black Ops 4, you may just be surprised in terms of the movement itself, just how, again, don't shoot me, just how decently balanced it is. Like, because you're either moving at a regular speed, okay, just basically like Black Ops 3, or you are basically moving vertical, and it could be really quick. But most of the time, it's actually most of the time it's actually very predictable. And when somebody's in the air, the only thing is just that it just so happens that a lot of people just don't prefer to shoot stuff that are that high in the air and that can move that fast in the air. I think that's one of the big problems that it was. So in a sense, if they took what Crimsix said and basically, like, you have a game without wall running, like for instance, I think Advanced Warfare would have been more popular if it stayed the way it was, but it had the boosting movement or jetpacks or whatever you want to call them in the same way that Black Ops 3 had, as opposed to the way it decided to do things. But it was the first game to do what it did, so therefore, you know, it is what it is. It's a flavor of Call of Duty, and you either like it or you don't like it, or you're not exactly sure what you feel about it. But again, as you guys know, there are fans of the franchise that are just picky. Like, we're very, very picky when it comes to certain things, or even the whole thing for that matter. So the thing is, in terms of what you specifically think and what you specifically feel, because there are 850 some of you in here, and the thing is that is a decent chunk of the Call of Duty community. Now, I don't know how big our community is now. It's still said to be in the millions, but I do know for a fact that it's not as consistently big as it used to be, and it's not as big overall as it once was during the old days. Like, I think Black Ops 2 was probably the last big Call of Duty. If not Black Ops 2, then Modern Warfare 3, because some people will tell me that Black Ops 2 is when the decline started to happen, sometime after Modern Warfare 3. So the thing is that if you are for advanced movement, do you not care and you just prefer the advanced movement because it gives you different options and adds to the skill a little bit, and maybe even divides the bridge between a good player and a bad player, or widens the bridge, or widens the skill gap, or whatever you want to call it? Because it really is debatable, because there's so many different factors. And the thing is, it's like, if you have an advanced movement game, now there's always going to be campers in a first-person shooter, as you saw in the first gameplay. And that's no different. It's just that a person that knows how to rush correctly can kind of counter that a little bit easier. And at the same time, because there's advanced movement, and because you can shoot people in midair, and you're doing more things at once when it comes to gunfights, some people will argue that those kind of games take more skill to take somebody out, as opposed to a boots on the ground game. Now, there are many different varying factors to go along with everything. Like with a boots on the ground game, for instance, you're depending on the flavor of the Call of Duty itself, campers may or may not be more difficult to deal with. So it really just depends on everything. It depends on the maps, it depends on the movement, it depends on whatever the game gives or doesn't give you. So I would really like to know down in the comment section in terms of where you stand, and in terms of what you prefer, and as well as with accordance with your game style, because that's another thing that makes it interesting too. Despite people's game styles, they still may prefer one over the other. Like, for instance, every passive player may not prefer certain boots on the ground, and they may actually like advanced movement, because a lot of people, especially with this game in the very beginning of its release, everybody was jetpacking all over the place. They were exoing all over the place like crazy before they figured out how to do it correctly. So I would assume that a person that is a passive player, like a camper, would basically take advantage of that. It's like, hey, look at these motherfuckers just flying around. I'm going to sit here in my corner, and I'm just going to take them out of the sky. Kind of like playing Duck Hunt. So yeah, I mean, there's just so many variables and so many factors, and I never really mentioned it in one of my previous videos that I made touching on this subject, not as in depth. And now that I've got more people involved in the comment section down below, and everybody's communicating with me back and forth, commenting on videos and stuff like that, I just really want to know. And as I've mentioned it in previous videos, and I will continue to mention it for time to come, because there's so many new people coming in that don't necessarily see everything, and I don't want anybody to miss on anything, is I really want you guys to get involved in as many ways as possible. Even if you don't comment in the comment section, it doesn't mean that you can't get involved. And what I mean by that is, like, I have a video series coming up that I haven't really thought of what to name it, to be honest, but long story short, it's basically where a friend of mine that I used to work with, neither of us work in the restaurant business anymore, well, at least actually, to be honest, I don't know what he's doing now, but basically we used to do what if scenarios at work all the time. We used to ask these questions to each other, like basically, like, let me give you, and these can range from all sorts of subjects. They could be about anything from about sports, about athletes, women, actors, movies, comic books, anything and everything, you name it. Like, for instance, let me just give you one because I don't want to spoil everything of what I'm going to put in video. Like, for instance, if you had to pick one, you had no choice but to say, you can't say tie and you can't say I don't know, you have to pick one or the other. For instance, just giving you an example here. Who would win in a best of 5 one-on-one game, both in their prime? LeBron James or Kobe Bryant? Just to give you a little taste. And again, the subjects vary and they could be about anything and everything, and I personally find those interesting, and yet they're debatable, but they don't have to be disrespectfully debatable, and they're fun to talk about. And I can tell you one thing for sure is that during work, especially when it was slow or even when it was busy, it really helped the time go by even more, and it made work a lot more fun, as opposed to just focusing on, you got to get this table, you got to get that table, you got to do this, you got to do that. Oh, we're bored because it's slow, the time is not moving along. So, and this helped a lot, and both of us were geeks and fans of pretty much anything and everything. So we always used to ask these kind of questions to each other back and forth, and it made things so much more fun at work. So can just imagine what it could do for a video beyond just watching and hearing what I have to say, to where you guys can voice your own opinions, whether you comment about it or not. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. Let me know down in the comment section where you lie in terms of boots on the ground, and if you get any ideas of what I should name that video series that I will end up making within the next day or two in terms of titles, let me know. And anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and the gameplay, and if you did, let me know, and if you didn't, let me know what I can do to make my videos better, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.